Hello and welcome to Old Ways Gardening and Prepping. My name is Teresa. I'd like to welcome you out to the shed of many names, my little owls. Yes, my Old Ways learners. Today we're going to be doing, I'm going to can some taco seasoned ground pork, because I'm doing canning today because I'm trying to beat this ice storm that's coming. And my recipe that I done before hasn't completely filled my canner up. I want a full canner because propane's starting to get very expensive, everyone. So this should fill out the rest of my canner, make it full. And I wanted to bring y'all along and not just keep a recipe away from you. So let's get started. What I'm going to be doing, I'm going to use a wok to cook my ground pork in. Yes, I'm using ground pork. If you have ground beef, you can use it. You can use ground turkey, ground chicken. This is why I'm using ground pork, because I got it on clearance. This one was $3.28. This one was $3.28 also. And that one was $3.30. So this should easily, hopefully, make 4 more pint jars. Excuse the noise, y'all, because the wind is ungodly. This storm's getting closer. Alright, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open these up. I'm going to cook them first. And once I get the ground pork all cooked, depending on how much juice is in it, I'll let you know if I strain it or not. I'll bring you back for the rest of the recipe. But I gotta share this funny. I swear, apparently people are really getting more dumber than they should be. Boneless ground pork. I want to know when bones were ever added to ground pork. Sorry, I couldn't help myself. Stuff like this makes you wonder, who said something? Who asked the question, is there bones in there? I digress. I couldn't help it. Never let a funny go by. Boneless ground pork. Man, I hope we haven't been eating bones all this time. But, like I said, for those who can't eat pork, you can easily do this same recipe with ground beef, ground chicken, ground turkey. It's easy. Now, of course, I'll be using a spoon to stir mine with. And now, if you have trouble getting it lump free, you don't want big chunks of meat. Use a old-fashioned hand potato masher. Those work wonders for making sure that your ground meat stays into small pieces. Because this, I'm going to be seasoning it with homemade taco seasoning. And it will work for anything. I've used the same recipe for many things. Make sure you get all your plastic. Make sure no plastic pieces get down into your meat. And you don't have to use a wok. If you got a big skillet, big pot, it don't matter. I like to break my meat up as much as possible before I cook it. That way it makes it a little easier. It is ground pork. I see just a little bit of fat, not a whole lot. So I'm not going to add no oil to it unless I just absolutely have to. Now, all I'm going to do is cook this until it's done. And I will bring you back when it's done. You will cook your meat till it's done. And then we will meet back up and I'll show you how to season it. I'll see you here in a bit. Okay, I won't be straining any of the juice because there's not really that much juice. It didn't have a whole lot of fat at all in it, which is a good thing, means more meat. Now, This is my own recipe. I make my own taco seasoning. If you want to use taco seasoning that you like, that's perfectly fine. Just know that a lot of store-bought taco seasonings have flour in them. And you want to make sure that when you're canning, you don't use anything that has flour in it. Okay. Chili powder, I always use a measuring spoon for because I don't like getting it all over me. Okay, we're going to want 2 tablespoons of chili powder. Use whatever chili powder you like. If you have a homemade chili powder, use it. This one I found interesting. It's a chipotle chili powder, which means it's going to have smoked jalapenos in it. So it's going to give it a little kick. Alright, you're going to want 2 teaspoons of salt. And you got to remember, this is a big batch. And unfortunately, salt is a preservative, folks. There's 1 teaspoon. And there's 2 teaspoons. Break up any lumps. I'm going to want a teaspoon. Well, I'll probably do a teaspoon and a half of black pepper. There's a teaspoon. And there's a half. And here we go. 2 teaspoons of good paprika. There's 1. And 2. And I want, most times when it's powders like this, I try to use the spoon, but I forget. We like garlic. So that's a tablespoon of garlic powder. Make funnel. I'm not going nowhere. Now you're going to want pint jars, because that's the way I'm canning. It's only 2 of us. A pint jar of meat is a pound of meat. That is plenty for 2 people to survive off of in a survival situation. Now, if you have a large family, I can understand doing quart jars. That was a half a tablespoon of onion powder. Let's see. Oregano. Oh, this is smelling good already. There's 1 teaspoon of dried oregano. There's 2 teaspoons of dried oregano. Now this is a secret ingredient in a lot of your seasonings, especially chili and taco seasoning. A lot of people don't know about it. Sage. Sage is an old secret in chili seasoning. And I'm going to want 2 teaspoons. And last but not least, I like parsley. I try to put parsley in as much as possible. I want a tablespoon of parsley. Man, that rain out there's coming down. I gotta get this stuff canned up and get my tail home. it up real good. Now, what you're going to do once you get it mixed up really good is taste it. Make sure that it's seasoned enough for your likes. You don't want to can stuff up if it don't taste good. I know it smells good. And I'm glad I got the heat on in here because let me tell you, it's cold outside. Okay, since I won't be using my measuring spoons again, you've got to taste it. And I'm thinking I'm going to need a little more chili powder. Nope. That's good. Got just a little bit of heat, not much. No, I'm going to leave it like it is. Now, I will tell you, if you do not like heat whatsoever, make sure you just get plain chili powder. Because the chipotle has just a little heat, which I was hoping for. And it did not let me down. Now, of course, the recipe for all the ingredients that I use will be in the description box below the video. And I'm only going to be canning up 4 pint jars to fill the rest of the canner up. So anything left over, I might use this for taco soup. Alright, take your warm jar. Everything has been sanitized. You want whatever size jar you're going to be using. I'm using wide mouth pints. You're going to need a funnel. You're going to need a spoon to stir it up and also put it into the jar. You're going to want a debubbler. And you're going to want either apple cider vinegar or regular white vinegar to clean the rim of your jar up. And you're going to want a 1-inch headspace. You want to make sure that it gets down in there real good. You don't want no big open spaces. Don't worry if there's no juice in it. As it pressure cooks, it will release juice. You got room for just a little bit more. Main thing is you want to make sure there's no bubbles or no big empty spaces, voids in your jar. And that's a perfect 1-inch headspace. Wring your vinegar, ran it off, look in, make sure you got everything dispersed well, make sure there's no big empty spots or any voids. Put your ring and your lid and your ring on, just barely finger tight. Man, that storm's rolling through with a vengeance out there. Thankfully, I don't have too awful far to drive home. And like I said, make sure that there's no big air pockets. Try to work it down as much as you can. You don't want to just pack it like crazy, like concrete, but you want to make sure that you get enough in your jar and to have 1 inch headspace. And by the time this comes out, of course it'll be already cooked because it's already cooked now. But you'll have an instant jar of taco seasoned ground pork, ground beef, ground chicken. Make sure you use a vinegar soaked paper towel, dish rag. Make sure that you change it, the side that you use, each time that you use it. Just barely finger tight. And I will bring you back when I'm ready to put it in the canner. See you here in a bit. Okay, I have finished canning up the taco seasoned ground pork. I'm drying off my rim, making sure that it's dry. I have an All-American, so I don't have to worry about gaskets, but you do have to oil your rim, and I only use olive oil, and this keeps it from sticking on you. I have, now depending on what canner you use, have the exact amount of water that you're supposed to inside. I have 2 inches of water, and I have a good sized amount glug of vinegar in it to keep the jars from turning white because of the water. And my water is fairly warm. And in goes my jars. I wish I would have had room for 1 more jar because I could have got 5 pints, but I'm blessed with 4. That's okay, it just means I'm going to be making a pot of taco soup tomorrow night. Okay, now I'm going to stop the video here and I'll bring you back because I am going to load it up. This is a 2-part video. This is for the pork, the taco seasoned pork, but I'm going to finish filling the rest of the canner with the bacon so I can have a complete canner. I'll see you back after a while. My All-American 921 is filled. I have 8 jars on the bottom, 8 jars on the top. Now I've already olive oiled my rim. Now it's time to put on my top. You want to make sure you line up the arrow on top with the notch on the side. Okay, sometimes you got to adjust it a little. There we go. And you want to do opposite sides, just barely tight. Just barely tight. And of course you also, before you put your lid on, want to make sure that your vent is not clogged at all. Okay, we're going to tighten it down. Tighten it down. And we're going to wait till the steam comes, and I will bring you back for that. Of course, I got my heat on already, and I'll see you here in a little while. Okay, she is at a steady stream of steam, and I'm going to let her vent for 10 minutes. Once the 10 minutes is over, I will bring you right back. I'm looking forward to it because believe me, outside it's a winter wonderland. I was wondering why it got quiet. I looked out the window and, well, out the door, and everything is white outside. So I'm looking forward to this being over so I can go home. Okay, I'll see y'all back here in a little while. Okay, she has vented for 10 minutes. Now in my area, I'm supposed to use 10 pounds of pressure. You need to know what poundage of pressure you need to use in your area. You can call your local agricultural extension agency to find out. You'll either use a 5, a 10, or a 15 pound pressure. Okay, and we're just going to put the weight right on. Don't be afraid of your canner whatsoever. And I'm going to let it come to a steady 11 pounds of pressure, because she won't dance until 11 pounds of pressure happens. And I will bring you back here in a little bit. Okay, she is at a steady 11 pounds of pressure. You'll want to make sure you adjust your flame to make sure that it stays at 11. Now is when you start the processing time. Since these are pint jars, it's going to be 75 minutes. For quarts, it's going to be 90 minutes. Now this is normal for it to stop dancing for a little bit. It's only supposed to jiggle every few seconds or so, because it's only venting out a little bit of pressure at a time, which is what you want to hear. If she's constantly just screaming and dancing, your flame's too high and your pressure's too hot. We're going to see you back here in 75 minutes. I'm looking forward to this. Everyone take care. Another very important bit of information for those new to pressure canning. I wanted to say, never during the process, the actual process of the canning, when you're timing it, never let your pressure drop below, like me. I'm supposed to have 10 pounds of pressure. This pressure can never drop below 10. If it ever drops below 10, I have to restart the processing time from the beginning, because while it's processing, it can never drop below your what you're supposed to be the poundage that you're supposed to be pressuring under. I just wanted to make sure that everybody knew that. That's why you got to make sure that it's a steady 11 pounds. If it goes down to 10 or below, you got to start over again. Alright, I'll see you later. Okay, she has been processing for 75 minutes. I'm going to cut the flame completely off. I'm not going to touch anything, and I'm going to let her naturally depressurize down to 0, and then I'm going to wait about 25 more minutes afterwards before I even think about taking this lid off. Let her completely cool down. Well, not completely cool down, but completely depressurize. And I will bring you back as soon as she is ready to go. I'll see you here soon. Okay, she has completely depressurized. And I'll let her sit here for a little over 30 minutes. Always use a pot holder. Take your weight off. Use a pot holder because your weight's going to be hot. And by opposite sides, you undo your lid. And always remember, there is still steam no matter what in this cooker. Open the lid away from yourself. See that? That will burn you. Okay. Well, I have already unloaded the bacon out And now it's time to get the 4 little jars of taco seasoned ground pork. Look at how beautiful that is. We actually have a little bit of oil in the bottom. And that red line, don't you worry about the red line inside. That's your seasoning. Alright, I'm going to go and get this over here. And you definitely do not want to touch these jars. They will burn you severely. And see, it does have a little oil in it, not much, but that red band is all your seasoning. And when you go to heat it up, you want to make sure you get everything out of this jar and heat it all up at once. I'll bring you back here in just a bit once I get them unloaded. Okay, the 4 pint jars of taco seasoned ground pork is done. They're out of the canner. Now I know this video might mess you up a little bit because you see all the jars in the back. What I done is, since they both can at the same amount of time, and I don't want to run my pressure canner half filled, I done 2 videos through the same canner. This is the 4 beautiful jars of the taco seasoned ground pork. Simple, easy, anybody can do this. Yes, they can. Now, you're going to want to wait. I can already tell that the jars are sealed because the indentation is down. After about 12-14 hours after they've completely cooled, make sure these jars are cool. Then you're going to give them a warm sudsy bath, not hot, just a warm sudsy bath. Let them dry. You're going to label them and put them back on your pantry shelves for hard times a-coming. Need to be putting back as much food as possible. Now, like I said earlier, this can be done. This has been done with ground pork. You can do it with ground beef, chicken, turkey. Yes, anybody can do this. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and it encourages you as well to pressure can your own meat back. Quit trusting those freezers, folks. If you're noticing, there's a lot of channels out there that are steadily losing their deep freezers left and right. You have to check your freezers daily if you have them. This way, I'll put them on the shelf. I don't have to worry about them. They'll be perfectly fine. Now, you want to make sure that you have plenty of space in between the jars so they can naturally cool down. And since snowpocalypse has happened outside, it's not as bad as last year, nowhere near, but I'm going to slowly ease my way home now. I look forward to seeing you in my next video, and may you each be blessed. Everyone take care.